Okay, we're ready to go.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the work session for March the 3rd, 2022. Oh my gosh, now I'm going back in time. Let's see. I guess we have to, someone has to lead the Pledge of Allegiance, right? All right. I'm going to ask Paul to do it since he's in that seat.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So thank everyone for coming out this evening who's here and for participating. And this is a topic that the Environmental Committee has been looking at for a couple of months, in addition to looking at our mission and where we'd like to take it in the future. And the reason I pull this up as a bit of a champion for us is a couple of reasons. One, our contract comes up for renewal towards sometime this year. So we have,
No, Elizabeth, let me correct you. It's
okay,
just 2023.
okay, so it's
We still
coming
have
up.
another year. Mhm.
Okay, that's good. So it's really a good time to start looking at requirements and what it is that we will want to do. I had several conversations with different people all the time. You know, we walk around town, people talk to you about different things. Some of it you can take with a grain of salt, and some of it you have to really pay attention to. Usually after someone says something to me 3 or 4 times, different people, I start to pay attention a little bit more. And then I had a conversation with staff, and I learned quite a bit about some of the preparations and some of the analysis that they were taking a look at that would definitely lead up to and impact decisions on the contract in 2023. So we put I put these slides together after the committee met on Wednesday evening. This is not a presentation to tell you what we've done. This is a presentation. It's not even a presentation. These are talking points for us to understand what it is that we're facing so that we can make sure that we are moving towards the best solution for our town. So Stacy, I don't know if you have the slides or
No,
Yes.
Paul runs these 2 meetings. I don't.
okay.
I take notes.
Sorry,
That's all right.
learning curve for me. I actually do have it here. Paul, how would you like me to do this?
You can present, or I can, is it in board docs? I can pull it up.
It's in board docs.
Yeah. Nothing fancy about the slides. Lisa asked me if I wanted to do pictures. I said, oh no, not now, later. We just want to prompt the conversation. Plus I decided to use, oh my gosh,
They're up on board.
the, the Apple tool instead of PowerPoint, and I'm so much used to PowerPoint. Okay.
I'm pulling them off. I just need the image here.
And while we're waiting for that, you know, we've had quite a few conversations over the last year or two when other council members were here on different approaches that we can take moving into the future. But I think that, you know, as we started to talk on our committee, not to use a pun, but the landscape on recycling has changed. It's changed for several reasons. One, we can't just send our trash to the east of the planet anymore. They don't process it. So that changes the way that we look at how we recycle. What we recycle changes from time to time because there's an economic impact to it. And these are things that we don't see. They're a little bit, and we get it at the end when we need to make a decision. And so I just wanted to bring this to your all's attention. Basically, I asked our team 2 questions last night that spurred very active conversation. And the first question was, how did we get here? And then the second question was, how do we think this is going to play out? So with that in mind, I just want to take us to the first slide. And the first slide basically says, we've got to get back to basics. Recycling has been around for what, 20, 30 years, a couple of generations at least. And we're still looking at recycling the same way we did, in some cases, the way we did 20, 30 years ago. Yes, there's an environmental impact, but the environmental impact is also driven by an economic decision with an economic impact. It happens on the planet, but it also happens locally. It happens based on our relationship with the county and what we truly can and cannot recycle, and that changes from time to time. So we definitely need to be able to articulate that to our residents and to ourselves even, to understand that it has changed. So on the economic impact, depending on what we recycle, there is a cost benefit or there's a cost deficit. If you want to go to the next one, that's fine. So obviously we need to pick up trash locally because it's clean and safe. The situation that we have right now is we have 2 trash pickups and 1 recycle pickup, except that much of what's going in the recycle bin cannot be recycled. We don't get an economic gain on that. And the trash collector does not get an economic gain on that either. So it's ending up in the landfill. We've had feedback from our waste management company that is telling us, that has told us, that we are not really recycling. That's my way of putting it. Staff periodically sends out information that says this is what we should be recycling. So essentially we have 3 trash pickups, not necessarily one recycle pickup and 2 trash pickups. So again, the point from the first slide is that what we recycle matters, and not everything that goes in that bin can be recycled. And what we can sell, or what our provider can sell, has an impact on us. I don't think in this particular contract right now we're paying, oh, you know what, I shouldn't really talk about contract things because we have to do that in closed session. But the point of the matter is it does impact our contract and our contract costs. Next slide. So in the beginning, I don't know how long ago, we used to just pick up certain material, certain recyclable material. And Lisa was kind enough to provide a list, which is a basic fundamental list on what can be recycled, and also shows how long it takes something to degrade. So as incentive to recycle or not to recycle. But not everything on that list can be recycled, even though it says, it tells you how long it takes to degrade if it goes into the landfill. Somewhere along the line, we made a decision in this town to go to a mixed stream of recycling. In other words, we put everything in one bin. It's not just aluminum cans, or it's not just bottles, or it's not just plastic, which is a very, very big conversation. So from an economic standpoint, we have to understand not just that our trash is going, our recycling material is not recyclable and is going to the landfill, but what can we recycle? Because that, again, impacts our cost. We have to pay for tipping fees for things that go to the landfill, and recyclable material reduces those fees. Okay. Paul. Okay. So we had a couple of discussions on possible solutions, and none of these are what we are advocating. In some towns, they are doing what they call green boxes, where the towns actually separate the recycle and then decide what can and cannot be sold on the recycle market, and then everything else goes to the landfill. Now, we have that support to Calvert County, more or less, through Pushaw Station, and then also down in Lusby. Whether or not we're actually taking advantage of that, I don't really know. We don't really know what's happening. The only thing we know is that our recycled material is ending up in the landfill. Will larger recycle bins at this point in time really help us? I don't know. What do you think? Is it really solving the problem?
I know that a larger bin solves the problem, especially if we're talking about the mixed stream, right? Because I think a lot of that stuff, particularly on the paper side, gets destroyed as part of that mixed stream. So it's probably more separation than it is quantity.
One of the things we talked about at the meeting was having a large cardboard recycling bin. So, because people can smash the boxes and put them into a large bin, maybe a Public Works, and then it would get it out of that mixed stream and not get contaminated.
The whole point is understanding what it is that we need to recycle, what we can and cannot recycle, understanding that that changes over time and not over long periods of time, because some categories of recycled material is sellable and some is not. And it changes because of the demand, and that changes what will and will not end up in the landfill. So we have to be able to understand what an active waste management program looks like in the town, if we want to go in that direction, or how do we leverage other resources in the county to make that work more effectively for us. If we go to, let's just say that we decided that we wanted to go to a different pickup scenario, we still have to consider what we're recycling and what we're not recycling. There was quite a bit of discussion about going back to the single stream. But if we go back to the single stream, what would that really look like? There are other strategies that other towns and municipalities are using where they don't change anything what they're doing, but they actually have contractors that go around, I don't know, I would call them, it's probably wrong, but like garbage Nazis, recycle Nazis, and they just don't pick up your bins if it's not recycled, and then you get charged back fees. I don't know exactly how those programs work. I think Lisa might have more information on that, or Tom might have more information on that. But I know that these are some of the strategies that we could look at. That's not going to bode very well because it pushes costs back on the individual residents. So
yeah, just to quickly clarify, I was using the example of College Park. It's not that they sort of blow off your whole recycling bin. It's that if they see something that's conspicuous, they'll put it back on your lawn. Now, North Beach can decide whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. For example, College Park you can't bag your recyclables. And so if it's literally a tied bag of, like a typical garbage bag, they'll just put it back on your lawn, or specific metals or things like that.
Well, they're not supposed to be tied here in North Beach either. So, but I see people doing it all the time.
Yeah, it's the enforcement conversation as much as anything, right?
Yeah.
So.
So obviously, all of this, however we look at it, whichever way we decide to go, is going to impact what we put in that contract. And so that's why we kind of want to start right now and take a look at it and raise it to your all's attention so that you know we're looking at it. And any ideas that you have, definitely we can offer those. So a couple of weeks ago, or well, actually it's probably more like a month, time goes by so quickly for me. The next slide. Dawn, myself, and Stacy got together. We had a really good hour-long meeting to really look at how can we approach this, understanding that we're not going to get every single household to participate because 50% of us are not owner occupied, and of the 50% of us that are not owner occupied, there's all these different flavors of rentals out there. But we really felt like we needed to have an approach to raise enough attention. So if we get at least a third of the people that live here dedicatedly recycling, then we might be able to get a program running. Dawn already has her flyer. We may just need to look at it and make some adjustments. We do really need to get people to understand what the issue is, because if there's a financial impact, there's a good chance it's going to come back to each and every bill. So that's definitely a motivator. And again, the landscape has changed. The way that we manage recycling is very much driven by the economy and what is sellable and what's not sellable on the recycle market. So that's I found that to be very interesting. The challenging thing is we're asking people to change behavior, and behavior takes a while to change. So just something to think through. And none of these steps in this plan have been carved in stone. It was our first look at what we could do. So anyone else that has any ideas, that would be very welcome. Several members of the team, myself included, on the committee, we are willing to go door to door and try to explain to people why they need to take a more dedicated look at how they're recycling. But it's still on us to decide as a team whether we want to stay with the current way that we're doing recycling, or if there's a different, more advantageous way to do waste management. Any thoughts?
Oh, hey, Elizabeth. So what is the biggest problem with our recycling program now? Is it that people, when they commingle, they're putting materials in there that shouldn't be in there?
Yes.
That's it?
Yes, and it's ending up in the landfill. And so we really have essentially we have 3 trash pickups and not 2 trash pickups and a recycle.
Okay, and I'm just curious, how do we know that, I mean, I guess you've seen data from the contractor that a majority of the recycling is not improper materials in there, so it can't be recycled? And how do we know?
That's what staff has said to me, that the contractor has fed back to us that a lot of what's in there is not recyclable because it's mixed. And so they have to take it to the landfill. Again, we have to go in closed session to talk about fees, but it does have an effect.
Well, no, okay, this is just helping me understand. So can we talk about, Stacy, you're on, is there anyone who knows like what percentage of?
I don't have a percentage, Lauren. I did have a conversation with the contractor this week about the other household trash side of it. And in the conversation, I brought up the Recycling Wednesday on Wednesday. And I asked him about recycling and how it has been working in the town. And he told me, and he assured me, that on Wednesdays, they only pick up the bins that have recyclable materials in them. Part of the problem is our residents are using our North Beach recycle bins as their trash cans.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me if they take a load of recyclables to the recycle center and it's contaminated, they have to pay a fee for contaminated materials. So no, they don't go rooting through the recycle bin for household trash. But he's pretty confident that majority of what they take to the recycle center is true recyclables, even though it's mixed recyclables. It's not single streamed.
Okay. Okay, so, all right, so
And
we don't
he's,
know
and he's,
exactly.
and he's working on a report. The county requires for us to report our amount, our tonnage of recyclables
Okay.
per year. And I should have that report in the next couple of weeks.
Okay,
I'll
well, that'll
put
be
it
very
out.
interesting to see. So, I mean, it sounds to me like maybe it's a education issue, a lack of knowledge.
I agree. And what would be nice to know, and I don't know that we have a way to find this out unless someone did walk the town and count how many homes actually recycle. Because we pay for every home in North Beach for recycling pickup,
mhm.
but not every home recycles. So it would be nice to have that number. I don't know that we'll ever 100% get a true number.
Mhm.
Is
But it
that
would be-
something we could do a survey monkey or some kind of a survey for the residents to find something out like that?
You can attempt to, but most of the time when you do any type of survey, you get between 9 and 12% of participation back.
Most of the people aren't gonna be truthful anyway. I hate to say it, but
I agree.
yeah, I'm willing to drive around for two or three Wednesdays and just every street and just see what's out there. I mean, I'm not gonna look and see if they're mixed, but I'll see if there's a bin out there and I'll just check the house. The following week, because some people are not gonna recycle every Wednesday.
They're
I mean,
not-
I know we do. As a matter of fact, heck, I could probably use 2 or 3 bins. I mean, because sometimes I have stuff sitting on the ground out there, and so does Lauren. They recycle about as much as we do, if not
Oh,
more.
we
So,
just we shop too much at Amazon.
but I mean, I'm willing to ride around and take the map and just check all the houses that, like, say, the first Wednesday, X number of houses put that stuff out, and the ones that are blank, when I go back the second week, I'll just look and say, okay, but they still didn't put recycle out. And then in the third week, if they don't put recycle out, then we know which houses aren't recycling and we know which ones are, because the ones that are gonna consistently do it every week. But if I go by your house for 3 weeks and you haven't put out recycle bins, you're not recycling.
Right.
So
And another-
I volunteer to go around the town and check the houses.
Greg, please do. And anyone else that does that goes around the town. I know Mike does that quite often. And I think Elizabeth and Lisa talked about maybe doing, like we said, a field trip or something. But if anyone goes around and you see, in a recycle bin, things that shouldn't be in there, if you could snap a picture of it, I'm not saying get the house in the background or anything, but something so that we can educate. I could do a graphic and say, here's a picture of the proper way to recycle, and everything in here in this bin is acceptable. And then, compare it to another one that's not, something that's contaminated with something
Yeah,
that's
I take
not.
a few photos.
Yeah,
yeah.
if it,
But
if
for the ones
anybody.
that are, for the ones that are closed top, the blue ones,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna touch anybody's stuff. But if they got the small ones that are just like boxes, the yellow boxes, I'll be happy to snap a couple photos.
Right.
Yeah.
And I
John,
do know the contractor, if it's a Wednesday and they have the yellow recycle bin out there, if they have a trash bag, a black trash bag in that yellow recycle bin, they will not pick that up because they consider that household trash. You put your household trash in a black or a white bag. He did state, and we'll work on updating the recycle flyer. If you put your recyclables, let's say in a clear bag that's tied up, they will pick that up if it's in a bin.
And see, I'm surprised at that because of having to deal with the recycling at my work. And Anne Arundel County up there, when they come through and they grab a toter, if they see
Mhm.
anything in a bag, they don't pick up the toter and they put a sticker on it saying, we cannot pick up because it has blank, 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 blank.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing is because the recycling's in trash bags or shopping bags or whatever. because they don't want any of that loose plastic, like even my work, like the cling wrap, not recyclable. Technically, even the foil that we use, not recyclable because it has food, grease, and oils on it. So like if you really go through like my business, it's like, okay, it's soda cans and beer bottles and cardboard. That's pretty much all my business can really recycle. Anything else has food grease or food product, and it's not recyclable.
Yeah, it is funny how each contractor works, because over here we have Evergreen, and if you put your recycle bins out and you have your recyclables in, say, a white trash bag in the recycle bin, they take it.
I mean, that's what I'm on the opposite end. I'm agreeing. That's what I see. They take everything.
Mhm.
It's from what I've seen. And I know that, we bag stuff and put it in there and shouldn't have. And they take it.
It would
So
be
I
And the
guess-
reason we bag stuff is because I didn't know. And I mean, I think I would know this. So I think education is a huge, huge thing. It could help a lot. There's Earth Day's coming up. Lisa's going to have a table set up for Earth Day. I mean, that's a great opportunity to maybe get some of those flyers out. I like that whole sticker idea, Mickey, that you were talking about.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was it.
shame goes a long way, big old orange sticker on someone's trash bin or.
And there are members of the environmental committee who talked about going around and just doing that sort of thing. I said,
Yeah.
well, if we want to become trash brigade, but seriously, whatever we need to do to educate everyone and raise their
Yeah.
awareness for that.
And I think like educating the residents is really important, but again, educating the trash collectors, because they're picking up stuff they probably shouldn't be picking up, right? I've seen it.
Well, I've been doing a lot of research on different companies and municipalities and different other towns across the country, like what their flyer looked like. One I liked that said thanks and no thanks, which was the no thanks was a list of things that are commonly put in, like umbrellas, baby strollers, anything that's made with metal but has plastic wheels. Do you know what I mean? Things that people say it's metal, so I'm putting it in.
Yeah.
Can't really recycle that. Broken plates, ceramic cups, those can't be. But to them, people say, oh, that's glass, but it's not, it's ceramics. So
Yeah.
a simple flyer that I'll share a couple of them with Dawn, because she can make a really good flyer like she's done in the past that would show. And Tom had mentioned stickers in College Park. They put right on the bins that say yes and no.
It would be interesting if we get that report, Stacy, in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Right?
soon as I
It'd be
have it.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, as
like
soon as
if
I
we
have
get
it, I'll
that
forward it.
report, and then we do like maybe you do a couple months of really intense education, Elizabeth, you and your committee, right?
Yep.
And then maybe get another report, like a quarterly report, and see if it's made a difference.
Do
Yeah,
we
and I
have-
want to say I've been away for a while. I've been in Europe for 2 years, and they do recycling. They do it quite well, and they went a long way away from there. They are single stream. It is just you have cardboard in one, you've got glass in another, you got plastic in another, and you've got metals in another. And that's how they've done it now. Of course, that is decades of learning that has had that happen. And listening to everyone here, I think I hate to say this, I think we need to take a step back to help people recondition themselves. Now, I remember when we started way back when, is that we were just doing newspapers and cardboard, if I remember correctly, and not anything else, and then slowly started moving to multiple streams. I think we may need to take a step back and go to only those things which are of the easiest and simplest for people to understand. Cardboard boxes, which we all have because we all are Amazon people. That's an easy one. People can know that this is what you recycle, your cardboard boxes, and nothing else with the cardboard box. They understand tin cans, kind of understand that too, that they know exactly what that is. There's no question about that. And glass bottles or glass jars, they can understand that too. So those are just like three things which are just people just looking at it understand. Now, I was with it when we went with the blue bins. And I thought at the time, it was a great idea because you can put it all together. It has a nice little top on it and there's no problem. But now as I'm listening to what everyone's here talking about, I think we may have to go to the open baskets again, the yellow bins, because that's where it's a little bit more open to figuring out what people are putting in there. Because the blue one, and I see it like everyone else does, is people use those blue bins as their actual garbage. And they even written on the side, it says, this is garbage. I mean, it's just bizarre of how it's done. So I think we may need to just cut ourselves back and help us here in the town saying, okay, We're taking cardboard boxes, full stop. We are taking glass bottles, full stop. We're taking tin cans, full stop. Just those three things that people understand. Now, I don't know the recycle costs of each. Glassware, it's quite low. Plastics, I'm sorry, it is a myth that's actually, it's recyclable. I just remember several reports from NPR and Frontline of talking about how recycling is in fact a myth with plastics. So we may have to step back on that one. That's my thought, is that we go to more back to the open bins and go back to more simple ideas, because I don't think people would, if we went back to a tin can, it's not going to be a stroller. I mean, it's something that it has some metal. No, we're only talking about this type of metal and nothing else. And everything else, unfortunately, will need to go to somewhere else. For now, it just sort of, we need to have how can I put this, it's terrible way back, re-education time, that we can get the streams back online and then just see where people are going from there. Because I think we've sort of strayed away and now everything is recyclable, even though most of it really isn't recyclable, and it contaminates the ones that are recyclable. So let's go back to the ones which are recyclable: boxes, tin cans, glassware. Those are the ones that you can do. Yeah.
You're on a roll, and I don't want to get kicked out of the meeting. I just want to make sure everyone has the same terminology. What you're referring to is multi-stream.
Well, in an ideal world, I would like single stream. But that's like 4 bins for people to understand.
No, I'm not here to vote. I just wanted to make sure people had to use the right terms.
And this is where I'm, and my thoughts are not quite. In an ideal world, it should all be single stream. But I don't, and as I said, I was in Europe and they've been doing it for 20 plus years. So they've had a long period of time where they figured that out. We probably still have to go to multi-stream, but I think probably simpler multi-stream. I mean, even I would say if we want to do break up a little bit, because to protect the cardboard, which I'm pretty sure that's the one that's most recyclable, to prevent it from being contaminated, is that you have a bin that's just cardboard, full stop. Don't put anything else in there.
And aluminum.
I'm not here to vote. I just wanted to make sure everyone had the right term. You would use single stream for what you're referring to as multi-stream.
So,
Right, and I'm sorry, I mean, as I said, I'm sorry, my terminology is wrong, you have a bin for X, win for Y, win for Z, win for W. That's
So,
it.
we're not really voting on
You
anything
can't do
tonight, but I had a thought. Is it possible to think something like Mondays is cardboard? I mean, first week is cardboard, second week is aluminum,
Yeah.
third week is glass, fourth week is, I'm thinking about simple steps that people can take to retrain them, because even though it's multi-stream, but anyways, just
Yeah, and I
brainstorming.
think.
So what is happening with all the other things besides cardboard when this is happening? Is that going in the trash? I mean, I definitely don't have enough recycle bins to hold the rest of it. You see what I'm saying?
Here was something.
I hear what you're saying, Ken, but I think it goes back to what Lawrence, and you're kind of on that too, but there's no way we can break it up.
Here's what
The small town we are, the budget we have, there's no way we can have 4 or 5 bins. It has to be multi-stream, and we just have to stress to people, listen, do not put this in there. And we have to start just educating the contractor that when they see something in there that doesn't fit, I don't care if it's one item, don't take it. And if they start seeing their items not picked up on Wednesdays, then they'll get the point eventually.
Educate, then enforce.
That's what I'm talking about. Because right now there's no enforcement. Dawn has been putting out flyers constantly. Now, I can't say how many times a year, but I have been seeing them go out constantly about recycling and trying to educate people. And if they're not getting it, time to start smacking the hand. It's that simple. Hate to be blunt, but it's that simple.
I believe our full-time residents, hopefully most of them are aware. Let me rephrase that. Our property owners that live in their properties are aware of the recycling guidelines because they're here all the time. But we do have a pretty large transient community that goes through rental properties that may not get the proper information for trash. That could possibly be part of the problem with the recycling or the rental properties in town.
Yes, and I would agree with that. And that goes back to my idea of trying to keep it to the simplest type of recyclables that people can have, where you really don't have a question if. It's like, yeah, that's a recyclable. I know what that means. And even if someone comes from out of town, they know that a cardboard box is probably recyclable, or glassware, or tin cans, or just aluminum cans, that kind of stuff. And try to keep it as simple as possible for now, to avoid the gray areas for now. So we can at least try to, it seems strange, clean up our recycling, and try to do it that way. So that's my thought of let's try to simplify the idea of what we're recycling, so people can do that, so we can once again re-educate people, and then we can move into more other things which are recyclable, but people really don't know it.
Does anybody else have anything? Because there's some really great points here. I'd like to, because this is recorded, I'll probably go back and listen to it and pull them out, take them back to the committee, pull something together, work with staff, and see what else we can bring forward. Does anybody else have any other thoughts, anything else they'd like to offer?
Do we happen to know where our current contractor is taking the recycling? I know for a bit PG was shut down for lots of different reasons, and that caused some issues.
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah,
I believe he's at the PG Recycle Center.
okay. It was like a year or so back because I was
Yeah.
dealing
the
with
final destination is somewhere in Virginia, but it goes through Upper Marlboro.
Okay, Yeah.
What I was talking to Lisa about is let's go over there and take a look at it and see exactly what it is that happens when it gets to PG County. But
I can reach out to them. That's called the MRF facility. And I can reach out to them and find out if they're actually letting people come out there to look at it right now. If they're open for a tour. And so
oh
you-
yeah, we have the COVID thing still. I know
Yes.
mandates are being lifted, but not all homogeneous. I get it.
But I'll reach
Um,
out to them. My brother-in-law actually works at the MRF facility. So he just, only thing he tells me is a good place to see eagles. They like to eat the trash. I'm like, oh, okay. Trying to get me excited about birds. But I'm still not excited to go to the trash facility. But I also heard they have a fantastic compost facility, and they compost all the vegetable waste from Whole Foods. And it looks like a giant tennis bubble. And it's over there at the property as well. And it cooks all the stuff and turns it into soil that they give out to residents. Not that we're going to have that happen here in North Beach, but that's a pretty interesting idea.
Leaves? Do they take leaves? I'm
It's
just kidding
leaves,
now.
grass clippings, and also all the vegetables from the Whole Foods.
Okay, thank you, Lisa.
I have something or a few things to say.
Okay,
Keep in mind, I know at some point in time, a person may say, you can't recycle this or you can recycle that. The recycling guide that we share from the town includes the items that our contractor tells us is recyclable and that their center accepts. So I know some people say you can't put certain things in there. I don't know. But that we base that recycling guide on what our contractor tells us is acceptable. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, so the staff would like the recycling to, the people to recycle the right things. And we don't want our contractors to go out and skip over someone's recycling tote because there's something in there that's not acceptable, because then we get tons of phone calls from the residents saying, they didn't pick up my recycling. Why didn't they pick it up? So then we're trying to figure out, did they just skip them by accident? Or, so Stacy's calling our contractor saying, why did you not pick up at this address? And, they have to check with the drivers, and it's just this big,
That's where the sticker comes in, though.
Exactly, Paul.
So then that's the other thing. So I've done some research too, and I've loaded documents on our team site. I don't know if Elizabeth and Lisa, if you guys have looked at them. But one of the documents has a ton of links that the Maryland Municipal League, they sent me, but it's been about a year, but they're just a bunch of links of other municipalities and other sites that they recommended us to look into. But back to the sticker, we have to, a lot of these places, like I just pulled one up. What town was it? Oh, shoot, I don't remember, but they do the sticker and they say, you know, your recycling's contaminated and we can't pick it up. But it's their own public works department that is doing that. We have to remember that we have this trash contractor now. Are we going to pay them extra to put stickers out, or like we need to figure out how to go about this and how to enforce and educate with those stickers, or some kind of a notification that they're not doing it right. Would that fall on, you know?
Well, I was having all kinds of thoughts when people were talking about the colors of trash bags and things like that. Because I remember back in the day, you used to put your recycles in a clear blue plastic bag, and so many things have evolved. So there's all these different things that we do, and some of them will end up as specifications back to the contract saying, hey, we don't want you to pick up if it's in this bag. We don't, those types of things. But to Lauren's point, we really have to do the education now so that when that happens, we have more success. One of the things that Stacy said that the committee did talk about, which is a concern, is how do we reach out to that 50% population that are not residents living in their home, that they are transient, because as I said earlier, there are different flavors. Now, having been a person who had a vacation rental for a few years, and I know we get a lot of negative feedback from different people in town about vacation renters, but to me, that's the easiest, that's the low-hanging fruit in terms of reaching out to them and getting them to participate and set guidelines for their visitors. Some of the other categories are going to be hard to deal with, which goes back to a point that Tom made when we had our meeting, is we may only get a third of the people actually participating. So, it's quite a bit to take in and think about, and come up with, what it is, what we really want to do for our community. Yeah, the sticker sounds like a great idea, probably is. But everyone in here are really smart people and know that implementation is also quite the challenge. So the first thing we have to do is just kind of, as Ken said, I agree with him, take a few steps back. That's back to the basic, back to the basics. Where are we? What is recycling? Recycling isn't the same way it was 30 years. No, maybe we can't get away from mixed use. So we have to rethink how we're going to do mixed use. It's just, Lisa and I've been working long enough now. We went through our storming period where she understands that I'm not really asking questions to have, analysis paralysis, that I'm actually looking for helping us to get to what is the best solution. So I don't want to belabor this anymore. It's coming up on the hour. We have had a lot of really, really great conversation. And so I think I want to take this back to the committee. I want to look at the points and work with staff, wait for those reports. Great guidance from Lauren on, creating a baseline and then going back and measuring against the baseline. Any other?
Yeah, I would just say this. Go ahead, Lauren.
Who's
I
least?
just had a quick suggestion. When enforcement, Dawn raised the issue that, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to do it? It could be expensive, but what we can do is just do an enforcement blitz. We can do like heavy education, heavy compliance assistance, and then do an enforcement blitz. Maybe just do it for a couple weeks. And it was probably all it takes. People start getting some stickers on their bins. They'll remember that. And maybe we don't do another enforcement blitz for 6 months or a year, or wait until we need it. That was it.
Great idea.
I know we're close, but are you picking up waves from what I'm thinking over here? Because that was pretty much what I was going to say.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I
will-
can actually hear you talking in stereo right now.
But the other thing I was going to say though is, yeah, good ideas from everyone, but it goes back. We can make all the changes we want. If we do not have enforcement, it is a big waste of time. We have to put that component in it. If we're not going to do that, why are we having this conversation about this?
Roger, Mr. Dodson.
So just wanted to throw that out there.
I can bring this up at another time, but I would like to do some kind of a project where we do something where we collect as much cardboard in a weekend or something, or as much aluminum in a weekend, have people all drop it off at one location and find out how much money we could make as a town if we did it as one big group project. So people would understand aluminum and cardboard can help the town. I know a lot of the schools have the dog. It's a dog. It's for all the cardboard at the school, and then all the money they get back goes to school projects. It's called something like Bird Dog. Do you know what I'm talking about? They're green bins. They're behind all the elementary schools. No, you guys are looking at me like you never heard of that. But, and also, I know that Stacy looked into a really good thing with like the juice boxes. TerraCycle, they give you money. Yeah, they give you money for different products. So that's the kind of thing I mean, we can do the enforcement, but also it'd be cool to do some positive look. These are the things that people can recycle and can help the town. Just an idea.
And there was a point.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
There was a point brought up earlier, I think by either Elizabeth or Lisa, about possibly looking at having collection points at Public Works. I think that could actually be useful for things like cardboard. I know personally, and Lauren, you mentioned Amazon, right? So if you get 5 Amazon boxes in a week, maybe 2 of them will fit in that blue box. You can cut them down, right? Now I've got all these other boxes I have to deal with. Either I have to stack them up in my house, or I've got to put them outside. It gets rained on and now becomes trash because it's no longer recyclable. So possibly having a single collection point, optional collection point for people to bring those boxes to a Public Works. Certainly I would use that. I don't know if anyone else have thoughts along those lines, but that, because of the size of the boxes, is very inconvenient and very difficult to deal with.
I hear what you're saying, but I'm paying for the town to take care of this, so I don't want to be going out of my way taking stuff over there. If I'm sticking it out in front of my house, I expect it to be.
Okay.
Well, I'm not saying it's one or the other. I'm just saying maybe also have a collection point for.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
My pal is telling me that the meeting time is over. He does that, man. He's got a 1-hour clock. Any dimes? Any last dimes?
Yeah, so Stacy, and I know this from having a conversation on the side with you at another point, but do you know roundabout, is it next summer or next fall when the contract expires?
We'll need to have a new contract in place July 1, 2023.
Okay. So we got plenty of time to figure out everything that we want to set in motion, but I don't think we can make a whole lot of, I guess the changes that we make now will have to be internal and not necessarily something that we will be expecting the contractor to do, because the stickers will definitely have to be something included in the next contract for them to slap on the bins if they see just one item that doesn't fit. So we gotta maybe figure out what we can do now to try to start getting to that point.
And that
What we-
contract goes under the next council.
True.
Yeah, well, again, I'll take this all back, you know, 'cause I said this is recorded, so it's amazing. We'll take it back to everybody on the environmental committee. Lisa will put our heads together. We'll get, you know, working with staff, and we'll try to come up with something reasonable in a couple of months. So we can look at it, see where it goes. I really appreciate all the comments. It's really good. Anybody want a motion to, for my dog dresser?
I don't think anyone should motion to close. Let's just keep going and see how long you can last.
Not long. I know. I've been through this before.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Raise. Thank you so much, everyone. Have an awesome evening. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Good night.
Right.
All right.